I'm a nutritionist, and here are 5 things you will never see me eat. First is chewing gum, and of course chewing gum is not a food, but it is not something that I put into my mouth because it bloats you terribly. When you chew gum, you swallow a bunch of air, and that gets stuck in your system, in your digestive tract, and it causes gas and bloating and distension. Also, gum has sugar alcohols, and sugar alcohols will also contribute to bloating. So if you need fresh breath, what you can do instead is actually chew on a piece of parsley or just brush your teeth as opposed to using chewing gum. The second thing is celery. Celery is actually really bad for you. No, I'm just kidding. Raw celery is just disgusting. If I were in a bind and there was nothing else, then I would do it. But I'm just not a celery gal. And there's plenty of other vegetables that I do enjoy, so I'm not gonna force myself to eat one that I don't enjoy. Protein bars. I do not consume protein bars, and I don't recommend consumption of protein bars either, because if you're consuming a protein bar, that tells me you're putting in effort. You're trying here. You are trying to make a healthy decision. You're actually better off if you are truly hungry and it's like 3 p.m. and you say, oh, I can't eat because it's not dinner time yet and lunchtime has already passed by. If you're hungry, then you need to eat. Your body is not going to misguide you, and I encourage you to have at that 3 o'clock hour, as opposed to having something like a protein bar, to have what I call a mini meal, which is whatever you would have had for lunch or whatever you're gonna have for dinner, have that, just have it in a smaller portion. Don't feel like you have to sidestep or dodge the bullets of when your hunger comes. Your body will not mistake you. If it sends you a hunger cue, it's because you actually do need food. So I would swap out your protein bar for a mini meal. Gluten-free bread. I personally don't have celiac disease. I don't have a gluten intolerance. Most people actually in the US who are sensitive to gluten, it's not because you are gluten intolerant, it's because you're likely allergic to the pesticides that they spray on the wheat. So you're better off having organic sourdough. People usually do really well with if you have a gluten sensitivity, or having organic wheat. You'll find that people will go to Italy, for example, and they're gluten-free, and then they go to Italy and they can eat the food just fine. How satisfying was that? That fit perfectly. And it's because over in Europe and in other parts of the world, they aren't spraying it with glyphosate and these really harsh chemicals and pesticides. So I personally don't have an issue with gluten, and I don't have an issue with bread, so I'm not gonna force myself to eat something that's probably nasty. So I eat bread. Organic, vegan, keto. Just because a health label is slapped onto a product doesn't mean that I'm gonna eat it. I'm not gonna eat something just because it's labeled as vegan or just because it's labeled as gluten-free. Those, they can put them on there just for allergen purposes to make sure that people are allergic, don't consume foods that they might be allergic to. But also it's a great marketing tactic to get you to eat something that you think is healthy but actually is not.